I'm Ron Reader, and this is Ron Reader Digs the Universe. And today's topic, die for capitalism, chump. But before I get started, I want to go down a quick COVID-19 update since I last spoke about the topic a couple of weeks ago. So here it is. COVID-19 cases are skyrocketing. COVID-19 deaths are skyrocketing. Unemployment is skyrocketing. The feds are throwing some money at unemployment, but not nearly enough to stave off disaster for the working class, and really, with that, the whole freaking country. The feds are throwing a lot of money at corporations, although I don't really know what it is they're supposed to spend it on, because the economy is shut down. Not a time to expand your business when the economy is shut down. So, I don't know, maybe they'll use it for stock buybacks or corporate bonuses. You know, the usual thing that they do with stimulus money. There are massive personal protective equipment shortages for healthcare workers. There are massive ventilator shortages for people who are fucking dying in hospitals of this shit. It's all a big mess, really. And I could talk for hours about any one of these events or developments, but I want to focus today specifically on Trump's now rescinded, he took it back, but it was an operative assertion for a while that he wanted everybody in the country to get back to work by Easter, with the inherent suggestion that it's just fine for old people to die to save the economy. And this assertion from Trump was immediately seconded by numerous prominent conservative figures. Now, pushing bullshit during a pandemic is horrific, of course. It's just totally irresponsible, and it's also part of Trump's lie all the time ethos. But this particular crock of shit, this one lays bare some very disturbing aspects of our economy, politics, and culture, and that's why I'm talking about it. Now, another thing before we go any further, I'm gonna be throwing around the word capitalism a lot today, and I want to make sure we're all on the same page with that. So, when I talk about capitalism, when I say capitalism, I am talking about a national system of not only economic, but also political and cultural control. It is a system that dictates identity. It dictates how people live their lives. It dictates what people think. Okay, so I'm talking about a system, right? I am not talking about your business. I'm not talking about even the aggregate of all businesses. I'm not talking about the American right to hustle for money, okay? I'm talking about a system that covers it all. I'm talking about how in my lifetime, commerce has become our nation's sole concern. Everything is subordinate to capitalism, this system of control. And it just so happens that conservatives are capitalism's most zealous supporters. Okay? So let's keep that straight. I might not be talking about what you think I should be talking about when I say capitalism. Okay? I'm talking about a system, right? Shall we begin? 1. On background. Right-wing anger, resentment, and hate. A very big part of the conservative identity is hating liberals, or at least believing that liberals are so utterly irresponsible with their ideas that they want to destroy America and will do so if they are not checked. So either way, you must have severe problems with liberals as people, or you're not really a conservative. Now, a lot of the time, this disdain for liberals is just about pissing off liberals for a little sadistic fun, you know, like saying Merry Christmas loudly and assertively, expecting liberals to all be aghast. Oh my God, they're putting Christ back in Christmas. Or making a big deal out of getting straws in a restaurant just so you can let everybody know that you don't give a shit about the environment. Or, God, Jesus, the best example of this is Ted Nugent's hunting videos. The dude gets a special kick out of blood and carnage and meat, you know, because vegetarians are all pansies. And no, really, the dude takes a bite of his fresh meat and throws a look of crazed glee at the camera because fuck all the liberals. Good fun. But there are also darker manifestation of this conservative disdain for liberals. Sometimes we see violent, hateful rage directed at liberals and other right-wing enemies. Throw the welfare queens on the street, let the gays die of AIDS, lock up and kill the blacks, deport the Mexicans. These are all not simply conservative policy positions. They are iterations of conservative thirst for blood. Do you remember Ron Paul in the 2012 presidential campaign season in a debate? He got the conservative crowd all whipped up with his example of the hypothetical 20-something motorcycle rider who wipes out without any health insurance. And the crowd just went fucking crazy, you know? They're like, yeah, you know, you're gonna make that call? Well, then fuck you. Die, motorcycle rider. Die. I mean, they went nuts on this. They loved it. Jesus God, you know? I mean, some sick shit. Or think about how the solution for gun violence is always more guns. You know, how do you deal with gun massacres? You fucking kill some people. Conservative bloodlust exists. Now, personally, I think this all sort of historically comes from the Southern takeover of the conservative movement. You know, the hate and fear of outsiders, resentment about the perception that they're not in charge, bloodthirst, racism. It's all so much neo-Confederism dressed up in Yankee drag. So, all of this conservative rage and hate is the background. Conservatives like it when people die. It's a part of their identity. Die for capitalism, therefore, comes easy. Especially when somebody else does the dying. But do you know what's more disturbing than the usual right-wing rage and bloodlust? It's the fact that dying for capitalism is actually a thing in capitalism. 2, capitalism kills. When I was 12 or 13, I saw a story on 60 Minutes that shocked me. I used to watch 60 Minutes, but I quit doing that about 20 years ago when Mike Wallace really pissed me off with this sort of rigged asshole interview of Yasser Arafat. You know, I was just like, enough of this fucking establishment shit. But anyway, I digress. This story on 60 Minutes that I saw was about how the Audi Corporation was refusing to recall a model that had a stuck accelerator problem that had already killed and injured more than a few people. And it turned out that their accountants had determined that a recall would cost way more than just handling all of the instances of this problem in lawsuits. I was amazed, you know, really? Jesus God, you know, so I went to my big brother, who was knowledgeable about such things, and he told me that this is standard business practice across all industry. Let people die if it costs too much to save them from their own fucking product. In capitalism, human life has no intrinsic value. You know, no value in and of itself. Instead, human life is measured solely on the balance sheet. If death means red ink, loss of money, then that's a bad death. We don't want that kind of death. We're losing money. If death means black ink, however, profit, then it's a good death. You know, how can you complain about that? We're making money. And let me tell you, there is a lot of profit-making black ink out there. That's how capitalism works. Black ink death. And that's how capitalism works. A couple of weeks ago, I asserted here that capitalists would be just fine if half the planet died as long as they're making money. But the con is never admitting it. You know, capitalism it's always awesome, always providing prosperity. Just work hard. It's the American way. Not profit death, loss death. I never imagined that conservatives would just straight up embrace and glorify capitalism's death toll publicly, but that's exactly what's happened. This plague is making people weird. Really weird. The conservatives are now telling us, essentially, that the Union Carbide gas leak killing tens of thousands of people in Bhopal, India back in 1984, the scores of cancer clusters and statistical anomalies all up and down the Gulf Coast's infinite row of petrochemical refineries, E. coli hamburger contaminations, heavy equipment dropped on workers' hands, corporate opiate pushing, black lung and asbestosis, the brutality and gore of the entire African slave trade, one of capitalism's very first successful projects. Conservatives are telling us now that this is all black ink death. It grows the economy. It's good. How could you have a problem with it? And they are telling us that we shouldn't simply tolerate these profitable deaths. We should embrace and love it like we love America and Jesus. All just the cost of doing business. 3. The various ramifications of the black ink death concept. Die for capitalism is pretty heavily and deeply embedded in American culture and thinking, and it's often in ways that aren't immediately obvious. For instance, Newt Gingrich recently said of the stimulus bill that Congress just passed, which provides 100% of your pay on unemployment rather than the previous 80%, he said, I shit you not, Gingrich said that he fears nurses walking off the job in droves because now they can make full pay on unemployment without working. So, you know, what kind of fool goes into their job and works when they can just kick back at home making the same kind of money? In Gingrich's mind, in the capitalist mind, workers must surely value themselves in terms of the balance sheet. So teachers don't teach, doctors and nurses don't heal, actors don't act, players don't play because that's who they are, because that's what they love. They all do it just for the paycheck. Identity is irrelevant. Personal desire is irrelevant. All you are is the money you make. Another example, the classic notion of the lazy welfare queen. Her personal circumstances are irrelevant. She's a parasite. Not only is she without value, but she also sucks value away from others. She's a living red ink death, costing money. Wouldn't it be better for America if she was a dead black ink death? Note how this balance sheet valuation of humanity very neatly overlaps with that other malevolent American cultural strain, racism. Racism and capitalism, a romance forged in hell. And it's our way of life. Oh, here's another example, so the unintended consequences of publicly embracing die for capitalism. Kill the old people doesn't exactly jibe with saving unborn babies. You know, it's unborn babies. That's what conservatives, they like to call fetuses. This kind of takes care of itself, at least for them, though. The evangelicals are really, they're seen by the capitalists as being basically useful idiots, and the evangelicals they're totally fine with that status, so I'm not expecting too much right-wing soul-searching on this particular contradiction here. I mean, after all, paradox and contradiction, they just work for the conservatives. They get it to work out in their heads somehow, and really, it works for all of us too, whether we like it or not. Any one of us is, at any moment, a potential blood sacrifice to a rich person's fortune. This is also the American way. So, in conclusion, I want to once again emphasize the difference between capitalism and business. Capitalism is the overall system of economic, political, and cultural power under which we live our lives. It's power that tells you how to live, what to think, what to love, who you should be. Not your business, not your money. Got it? It's not about you, the individual. So, it's pretty fucking clear that capitalism is not what it pretends to be. It's not this awesome thing that provides for society, creates national bounty, gives us meaning. It's not your hard work. It's not about your bootstraps. Not about magnanimous, wealthy job creators doing their patriotic duty to make the economy function. Instead, capitalism is about fuck you. And it wants you to die. And we are all a bunch of chumps. Alright, everybody, remember, y'all continue pushing compassion throughout the duration of all this as the people become ever more cray. Continue your social distancing. It's a matter of life and death. I'm Ron Reeder, and this has been Ron Reeder Digs the Universe. I'm a chump for Trump. I'm a chump